Most grafting techniques are done in late winter or early spring. The rootstocks are breaking the winter dormancy, and when they start to wake up, they provide the dormant scions with a steady flow of sap, which ensures a good graft healing. Bark grafting pears, apples, almonds, peaches, plums, and many other types of fruit trees in early spring using dormant scions can be very successful when you want to change varieties on an established rootstock, as I've shown on my latest video. Check that video in the channel or with the provided link in the description if you haven't seen it. However, late spring or early summer grafting is also an option if the right techniques are used, like the patch graft. Although not ideal, even bark grafting can work in late spring or early summer as long as you take the right precautions to account for the high temperatures. I have several olive trees in my orchard. Some are young trees for olive oil production, like picual, arbequina and noji blanca. Others are table olives like galega, conserva de elvas and gordal. Some of these trees are more than 60 years old. In some areas there are several wild olive tree seedlings, probably scattered by birds. When clearing the wild growth to plant my new fig orchard, I have come across a couple of wild olive seedlings that were well positioned. Instead of removing these wild seedlings, I decided to use them as rootstocks to graft a new table olive variety named Gordal Sevillana that I planted a couple of years ago and which hasn't grown so well. The Gordal olive tree is very young and the available scion wood is not ideal, as the young branches are thinner than a pencil. I selected a few of the best scions I could find, avoiding the use of older wood. Be sure to wrap the scions in plastic film or place them in a plastic bag to avoid dehydration. You should cut most of the leaves to reduce moisture loss. Using a handsaw, cut the rootstock at knee height. Smooth the edge of the cut with a grafting knife. Make 2 or 3 vertical cuts on the rootstock bark. The cuts should be roughly the length of the knife blade. Separate the bark from the wood at the top of the cut. Use the dull side of the blade or the brass tongue if your grafting knife has one. Select a suitable scion. Ideally, the scion should have the diameter of a pencil. The ones I am using are much thinner, so we will see if my grafts are successful. Remove almost all the leaves from the scion. Cut the remaining leaves, leaving only small pieces or none at all. Cut a bevel at the base of the scion. Make a smaller bevel at the other side. Insert the scion behind the bark with the longer cut towards the wood. Repeat the process, placing 2 more scions. Using a suitable material, tie around the graft area, applying enough pressure to ensure a good contact between the scions and the rootstock. Here I am using a self-fusing rubber tape. Cover any entry points where air and water may enter the graft areas. To ensure maximum protection, you can use a non-tar pruning paste over the tape. If you use a pruning paste, any entry points to the graft areas should be covered with tape. Since the grafts will suffer high temperatures, covering them with a padded envelope is essential to avoid dehydration and graft failure. If needed, a reflective material like aluminium foil can also be used to cover the envelope. A month later, I decided to graft a second wild seedling located nearby with the same olive cultivar, but with a few thicker scions that I managed to collect. This rootstock is several years older and has lots of wild growth. I left 2 branches to demonstrate the importance of protecting the grafts. The grafts on the lower branch will remain unprotected, so we can see what happens. We will also be able to compare the effect of leaving small leaf pieces in the scions, which usually helps when grafting evergreens, to leaving none at all, since we are grafting this late in the season. You can place the scion in the middle of the cut. Remember that the cambium contact point will only be towards the wood. I'm leaving a few leaves cut in half in this scion to compare. You can also place the scion to one side of the cut. When placing the scion like this, I like to scrape the bark on the side that will be flush against the cut on the rootstock. Don't insert the scion below the bevel cut. Using wet natural raffia is also a good tying option. However, you must always cover the top entry points of the grafts with something, like tape or parafilm, especially if you are going to apply pruning paste on top. If the paste is able to enter the cut areas, the grafts will fail. When using pruning paste, it's helpful to cover the freshly cut tips of the scions. The two grafts on the lower branch have scions of different diameter and will remain unprotected to serve as a control. After 4 to 6 weeks, I usually cut the side of the padded envelope to take a look at the scion development. If I don't see any signs of growth, I fold and close the cut and leave the grafts alone for 2 to 3 more weeks. If I see any signs of green growth, I leave the cut open to allow more sunlight in. The unprotected graft I made with the thinner scion has dried out. The other one is still green, but the buds look brown, which is not a good sign. 8 weeks after the graft, the unprotected grafts in the second seedling have dried out, and the bud growth below the graft point is getting out of hand. I decided to remove the padded envelope at this point. At this stage of graft development, removing the bag is essential to control lower rootstock growth. The two thicker scions show signs of development. I will wait a couple more weeks to decide which graft will remain and which will be cut. After 12 weeks, there is a clear winner, which is developing much better than the other. That means I can safely cut the other, so the rootstock can channel all the sap to one graft. After 6 weeks, the first seedling, which I grafted with the thinner scions, still doesn't show any green growth, so I decided to open the bag to have a better look. There were rootstock buds growing inside the bag. If you fail to notice this lower growth in time and don't remove it, the grafts will fail. The thinner of the 3 scions has dried out. The other 2 are a bit dehydrated but still flexible, and still green inside, which is clearly shown by scraping or cutting the top of the scion with the knife. They still are viable. They just need a bit more time. 10 weeks after the graft, the 2 remaining scions have several buds growing well. After 12 weeks, I decided to cut the less developed graft to concentrate all the growth on the better developed one. Here's the remaining graft after 14 weeks. Don't forget to check regularly for new growth below the grafts. If you enjoy my work, help me in producing new videos by liking, subscribing, sharing the video and leaving a comment. Be sure to turn on all notifications on your device so you don't miss my next videos. Thanks for watching.